things are pretty grim. Things are looking bad.
Things are not looking good, guys.
This is the day, we're recording this the day after the election
this
was, decided.
This was supposed to be a joyous occasion celebrating the second anniversary of My Existential Crisis, but instead, it just gave me an existential crisis. So,
how are you feeling? What's the mood?
Not great.
Yeah.
The mood is not great. Yeah, I'm trying to do what I can to think about the things that I can control, and then the good things that I can do.
Yes.
So, I didn't plan on this, but I kind of did. I scheduled myself to give blood yesterday.
Oh, that's good.
Not realizing that it was on election day because I voted by mail. And then I realized that it was, and I was like, oh, it's probably a really good thing. And then I sobbed while I took my blood.
Did you give any reason for it, or were they just assuming that you were having a really hard time with the procedure?
Well, the procedure.
Yes.
Well, they kept asking, are you okay? Are you okay? No. And so at first, just to get them to stop, I said, no, I'm not okay. And they're like, what's wrong? What is it? Like your head? Is it your stomach? I'm like, well, it's everything.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we got to get you some juice. We got to get you some ice packs. We got to get you all these things. Meanwhile, I'm just crying into the ice pack. I have the ice pack on the back of my head, and my warm tears are melting the ice.
It's almost poetic.
It really was. It was.
But you did get juice out of it.
I did. I got both apple and grape.
Apple and grape.
Yeah.
Two separate juices. Not bad.
I
All
know,
right.
She gave me the grape juice, and I was like, this tastes almost like wine, but I wasn't expecting it. I was not expecting it. You know how whenever have you ever eaten something and it's not the flavor that you thought it was, and you're like, what is this?
Well, I had a weird dream last night where I was eating a bug sandwich, and it tasted terrible.
Oh.
And then I woke up and the flavor was still in my mouth.
Oh, ew.
Has that ever happened to you? Like a gustatory hallucination when you're...
I can't say that it has.
Dreaming? No?
Not with my mouth and my taste buds, but I do thrash in my sleep.
like a Vietnam vet?
Yeah, just the other night I straight up kicked the air in my sleep.
Damn.
Yeah. I kicked the air really hard in my dream, and then I realized the comforter flew up and then back down on me because I kicked that hard up. I'm glad it was straight up and not to the side, or else I would have kicked the wall or David.
What was the dream about?
I was fighting somebody.
Do you remember who?
No.
Okay. Let's hope they don't come back.
It was really intense.
Yeah. Wow, thrashing in your sleep. It sounds so violent.
I punched in my sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what are you training for in your sleep exactly?
Combat.
I
mean, look at where we're at right now, Dylan. I'm training for combat.
Yeah, but I think you're right in saying it's important to narrow things a little bit to what you can do in your immediate community with the people around you, and just try to put positive energy into this world that seems to suck it up.
Yeah. And
relentlessly.
I will say it please take the time to process and grieve as you will. All very valid feelings and thoughts. And I believe, is it 998 is the number for suicide prevention and mental health?
I'm not sure.
I believe it is. Hold on. Let me double check this. I'll edit this out. How the fuck do I use this?
I just have it on speed dial. Mafia. So I don't have to type it in. Oh,
shit.
What?
I don't know how to use the Mafia laptop. Or
Is that an iPad or not?
No,
it's a Kindle.
It's a Kindle. A Fire tablet. Not even. What was I looking up?
The suicide prevention number.
988.
988.
It is 988.
It's important we get this right.
It really is. But yeah, so if you're struggling with your mental health, please call 988.
Yeah. It reminds me of this line from a movie called 9 Days, where the character says, I send flowers and they send pigs to eat them.
Yeah. That's a very beautiful poetic way to sum up how I feel right now.
But we voted.
We did.
I got the little sticker.
You did. I'm happy for you. That's the one thing about voting by mail. You don't get a sticker.
They should send you a vote sticker in the
should.
mail.
I wish that they would. I would. That would lift my spirits just a little. Not much, but just a tad.
Yeah. So now this is a fashion/language learning/politics podcast.
Yes. I mean, it is my existential crisis. How could it not be? You know?
Oh, goodness gracious.
How you doing, Dylan?
I am feeling the weight of things.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was okay.
Yeah.
And then today things are settling in a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And I'm feeling a little bit more worse for wear.
Yeah.
But I am on the whole feeling optimistic.
Okay.
Even though I'm feeling optimistic because that's just who I am.
Yeah.
It isn't necessarily
rooted
in response to my environment.
Yeah.
But that is just something that I try to be.
I really admire that. I'm having a hard time getting there.
Yeah, of course.
But it's really nice. Listen, as difficult as it was to do the notes, considering, I was like so looking forward to this because it just like, community is so nice. And like, there are people and there is community out there. Like, you're not alone. There's so many people who love and care and support you, in every type of way, including us. So, lean into whatever community you have, and that includes us too. So, you can't get rid of us that easily.
Not even if you try.
Not even if I have rehearsal for 4 weeks and we don't get to record.
Speaking of which, sorry for the hiatus.
Yeah, my bad. Literally just my bad entirely.
Well, we all got carried away with work and with the show and everything.
Yeah.
But it's going well.
It is going really well. It's so good.
Speak on that.
I will speak on that,
Speak on that.
Speak on that. Yeah.
And will you
speak on that?
If you would.
I will. It's going great.
Okay.
I love this show. This show, besides Phantom of the Opera, this show was like the first musical I had seen growing up. And it's like it has like a very near and dear place in my heart. The movie is like, it's not great, but it's good, if you know what I mean. Which you probably don't. But
I don't. I haven't seen it.
No, Kevin Kline's in it.
Kevin Kline.
He's an actor.
Okay.
He voices Mr. Fischoeder on Bob's Burgers.
I'm not familiar.
Are you serious? I watch Bob's Burgers every day.
I've watched very little of that show.
I have watched it every day.
Really?
Yes.
Every day?
Yes.
Since when?
Years. I'm not kidding. I watch it to fall asleep. It used to be The Office. I had watched The Office every day for 3 years. Now it's Bob's Burgers. At least 3 years.
I was a big fan of The Office. I had the Dwight bobblehead.
You did?
I did. And I watched every episode when it came out on TV even.
Yeah.
That's how old I am.
I was not that old.
I've heard a lot of good things about Bob's Burgers.
It's very good.
And if you take my middle name, Robert, it's Bob.
Oh my gosh.
And then you put my last name, Burger.
You are.
I'm essentially Bob Burger. If you will.
I will not.
Okay.
But that's lovely. That's a lovely thought.
And we're really stretching for these lovely thoughts here.
Yeah, we really, really are. Anyway, the show is a lovely thought. It's very comical. It's like an old Looney Tunes cartoon in terms of like the humor and the jokes.
And who's your character?
My character's name is Edith.
All right, you want to do another read?
Yep. My character's name is Edith.
Edith
Stanley.
Edith Stanley.
Edith Stanley.
Okay.
Yep.
Very nice.
She is like the head sister.
There's always got to be one.
And it's me. It's me. I'm the one who whips them all into shape. Mm-hmm. I come up with the ideas, and if I don't, then I pretend that I do.
Okay.
Yep. I'm my father's favorite.
A real go-getter.
I am a real go-getter. My character she wants to be best friends with the queen because she wants to be like so in that inner circle. Like she wants to be there. She's hungry for it.
And is she a pirate of Penzance?
She is not a pirate of Penzance.
I see.
She is a lady, not of Penzance. She is a lady of England.
Of England?
Yes, a Cornish lady.
Cornish even.
A Cornish, yes.
Much like the hen.
Much like the hen.
Lovely.
Yes.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that it's going well.
Yeah, and I'll be taking a little bit of a hiatus after, not of the show, of theater for a little bit after this one.
Yeah?
To give myself a break. I haven't stopped since Anastasia, which was in April.
Yeah, that's been going on for a while.
Yeah, so I need a break.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a break.
For sure, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea of what you plan to do after this?
More of this. I would love to like get caught up with podcast stuff and like record in bulk.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Nothing like wholesale podcast recording.
Podcast recording.
You got wholesale papayas.
Yeah.
Now you got wholesale podcasts.
Because this is what I want more of in my life. I want more of that. Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
But crafting.
Yes.
I'm very excited to do some more crafting.
What do you intend to craft?
I'm going to make some cards.
Mm-hmm.
I hate buying greeting cards because they're like $7 a pop. That was a face. Why did you make that face?
I didn't realize that it was $7. Usually when I get greeting cards, I just accept that they cost whatever I'm going to pay for them.
Yeah, they're expensive.
I don't even look at my bank account after.
If you should.
I'm in debt.
You are in debt. Literally, Mother's Day cards, I as a child of divorce, buying Mother's Day gifts. It racks up. I think my sister and I spent $100 in cards the one year.
Yeah.
Because we had to get them for our mom, our stepmother figure, our grandmothers on both sides. We used to have 2 great-grandparents at one point that were still living. Our Aunt Camille, who is not a mother, but she is in our hearts and souls.
Yes.
That's 8 right there. 8 times 7.
8 times 7, 56.
56. And those are just if you get like the glittery ones. Like if you get like the nicer ones, that could be like $9 a pop.
Sheesh.
If you go cheap though, you can get like a $4 or $5 card. But like then your mothers are like, you spent $4 on this card for me.
Yeah, and God forbid that your grandparents get divorced.
I know.
And then they remarry.
Then there's more.
Then there's a step-grandparent.
Insane. And then if you have a partner, if you're dating somebody, then you got to get their people cards.
Oh, what if they're a child of divorce?
Exactly. So, yeah, cards can cost a lot of money. So I decided I'm going to make my own. And they're going to be just almost as nice. Not quite, you know.
Well, I haven't seen them.
They're homemade.
Yes.
But with my Cricut, my handy dandy Cricut, I've been able to make some really nice cards.
Which is the one that you're most proud of?
The one, I made some nice cards recently. I made David a happy birthday card with a motorcycle on it.
Okay.
What? Oh.
I just know that he injured himself recently.
He did.
On his motorcycle.
He actually injured himself over the summer, but it only wasn't until recently that he got it fixed.
Oh, I see.
So it was a while ago.
Okay, nice.
But yeah, he's all sutured up now.
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. And he'll have an appointment coming up in a few days to see whether or not he's going to need physical therapy.
Cool.
So things are looking up there too.
Hey, how about that?
I did make a really nice Mother's Day card. Speaking of Mother's Day cards.
Yes.
It was very beautiful. I should start taking pictures of the things that I do.
Yeah, because I haven't seen hide nor hair of these cards.
Yeah. I made a couple wedding cards.
Okay.
Very nice as well. But yeah.
Happy 2 years.
Happy 2 years.
Means a lot, working on something like this for so long.
Yeah, it really.
You're proud of yourself.
I am.
It's quite the accomplishment, especially with a podcast, which is just
thankless.
Completely thankless. Nobody likes it. Nobody listens to it.
No, you just do it because it brings you joy.
Yes.
Yep. Also, we should have had a drink. I have eggnog if you would like some eggnog.
Oh, eggnog?
Yes. I also have vodka and wine. I'm not an alcoholic.
Well, I got to drive shortly.
Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, I'll try a little eggnog. That sounds nice,
eggnog?
actually. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go grab some eggnog.
It seems very seasonal.
Yes. Happy 2 years of my...
Happy 2 years.
It's crazy. How you feeling, Dylan? It's only been about 1 year for you, which is still wild.
I feel like I joined longer than a year ago.
Yeah.
But it's been about that.
You did a little. Officially joined, it's been about a year. But since been on board with things, I'd say probably about a year and 4 months, 5 months.
Yes. I think, how many episodes have I done? Like 20?
Yeah.
25?
Oh, definitely, you're in the majority now.
Cool.
Of like co-hosts.
Absolutely fantastic. I'm feeling great.
Yeah.
My life has only gotten better since joining the podcast.
Yeah. That's a testament to the work we do here, folks.
Yeah, I get to listen to myself all the time.
All the time.
But I've enjoyed it a lot. I've learned a lot about I can't think of anything at the moment. But I've learned a lot.
Yeah. Just one thing.
One thing?
One thing.
In that we've talked about?
And just from the podcast.
That you make great cards. I know that.
Look at that. See? That's something.
Welcome, folks.
Yeah, welcome to My Existential Crisis.
The podcast
where we talk about all the things that make us question our entire sense of self. And buckle up, because there's going to be a lot this coming year.
My name is Dylan.
And my name is Madison.
Cue the music. Madison, have you heard of the Bardo Thodol or Bardo Thodol?
Gesundheit?
Oh my god. What a classic. It's more commonly known in the West as the Tibetan Book of the Dead.
Okay.
Which I'd heard of before, but never really looked into despite the fascinating title. Now, the Bardo Thodol is known as a quote-unquote terma text taken from a larger collection.
A terma text?
Yes, the word terma means it's a hidden teaching, something that was originally kept secret, to be later discovered by followers called tertons.
Okay.
Many of whom were considered incarnations of 25 main disciples of Padmasambhava, who's one of the founding fathers of Tibetan Buddhism.
Okay.
I know that's a lot of information.
That's a lot.
But just to simplify it, the Tibetan Book of the Dead was a hidden text that was meant to be discovered by certain followers with a deep spiritual connection to Buddhism.
Okay.
At a favorable time, they'd come across a text and learn its teachings.
What is the favorable... did they know what the favorable time was whenever they wrote it?
They would come across a text during some kind of auspicious
you'll
time.
just come across it later.
When it's right.
When the time's right. Okay, okay, I see. One of those things.
Yes. And for better or worse, in our day and age, we have access to the Bardo Thodol. As I mentioned, the Tibetan Book of the Dead is taken from a larger collection of teachings called Profound Dharma of Self-Liberation Through the Intention of the Peaceful and Wrathful Ones, revealed by Karma Lingpa in the 1300s.
Wow.
And I say revealed because it wasn't written by Karma Lingpa. It was written far earlier than even the 1300s in the 8th century by Padmasambhava.
Is that whenever it was rediscovered?
So it was rediscovered in the 1300s.
Yeah.
But it was written in the 8th century.
Yeah,
in the
but
700s.
when the guy what was the word you used? Not wrote, rediscovered? Is that the word you used?
When he revealed.
Revealed. Okay.
Yes, revealed.
By
Karma Lingpa. Now, the text was hidden in the Gampo Hills in central, which just sounds so fun.
Gampo?
The Gampo Hills.
Gampo?
Yeah. Gampo Hills in central Tibet, and then discovered by the Tibetan Terton Karma Lingpa, Tertons being those favored followers that I mentioned. Mm-hmm. Now, the title of the text in Tibetan is Bardo Thodol, or Liberation Through Hearing During the Intermediate State, which will make more sense as we continue.
I hope so.
These teachings provide a clear picture of what happens immediately following death, what happens during post-death transcendence, and what happens during the transition into the next incarnation on Earth.
Okay.
The text itself is meant to be read aloud to someone not as they're dying, but rather after they've died.
Oh.
It helps them navigate the post-death state, which I find kind of interesting because hearing is often the last sense to go.
Is it kind of like how Egyptians would leave mummies with stuff to get them in the afterlife? You'd have to do all that stuff afterwards, and it would give them
yeah, to aid them through their journey
they'd
through
give
the
them
afterlife.
maps and stuff too.
Did they?
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty positive, either maps of their old home that they could then rediscover later, or like maps of what they imagine the afterlife to be so that they could get to the right place.
Did they like unscroll the maps and hold them up in front of the dead person's face and be like, hey, can you see it right?
You know, I don't think they did.
No?
But we didn't have pictures to prove it, so we don't actually know.
I hope I'm buried with Waze, to be honest.
I'm sorry,
or
what?
Google Maps.
Oh.
Yeah, either or. To understand what we're talking about, we have to introduce the idea of Bardo. This episode should come with a glossary.
Yeah.
So Bardo is a term used to describe the intermediate transitional phase between death and the next life. So when I say Bardo, that's what I'm referring to.
Okay.
According to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, there are 3 stages that we experience after death, occurring over the course of 49 days.
And is that all considered Bardo? Those 49 days?
There are 3 Bardos in the transitional state.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to be going through those and what they
represent,
yeah.
So like for the 49 days, there are 3 Bardos within the 49 days.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Just like putting the pieces together.
Yeah, absolutely. So these stages include, or these Bardos include, Chikhai Bardo, or the moment of death.
Okay.
So this is what it sounds like. You experience the moment of death and enter a state of clear light, which sounds similar to the light described in near-death experiences. If your consciousness is able to recognize and merge with this light, you can attain liberation and avoid rebirth into a new incarnation.
What was that? So like if you resist the light?
If you merge into the light.
If you merge into the light.
Yes. That said, merging with the light is easier said than done, and many souls aren't capable of merging with the light because they're attached to their previous life and identity. I just like to imagine an accountant just screaming as he hurtles toward the light.
It's like, please.
Yeah, please, help! Getting rebirth for sure. Madison, do you think you'd be able to merge successfully with a light?
Yeah. Yeah, no.
That doesn't sound very confident.
I'm not confident in that. I would like to think so, but I don't know if I could. Yeah. I genuinely don't know. Because there's so much about this life that I love, and I can see myself being hesitant to give that up.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, that makes sense.
But there's also other things that I'd like to do, so I don't know.
Absolutely. Now, it's also important to note that this part of the book is meant to be read on days 1 through 3 after death.
Okay. And when you said... Okay.
Yes.
I have a couple thoughts.
Sure.
First of all, I think it's fascinating that as far back as the 8th century, you said, that the idea of going towards the light has been alive since that long. Yeah. Like, there has to be some kind of truth to that. If, like, way back in the 8th century, people are describing death in that way.
Yeah.
And still to this day.
It's so just ingrained in the collective unconscious. Is just this recurring theme that comes up again and again.
Yeah.
You know, maybe if we're thinking as skeptics, you could say, well, there's a big ball of light in the sky.
Yeah.
So that's probably just our brain figuring out, like, what the next stage of life is going to look like and just piecing things together. Oh, it's a big ball of light. That makes sense.
Okay.
But at the same time, I don't believe that to be true.
Yeah.
I believe there is a big ball of light after you die. And I do believe you have to merge with it to transcend the cycle of death and rebirth, actually.
Well, that brings me to my next question.
Okay.
Okay,
what's the next question?
Okay.
Okay, and go.
I panicked. Wait. I had it's on the tip of my tongue. Oh, the 3 days. Okay. You said that you have to read this section to the body for the 3 days after their death.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm thinking logistically here. Like, how do you know if it's done right? And so that's what I'm stuck on. So, like, first, how long is this that we're reading?
The book itself?
The first 3 sections that you'd be reading in this part.
I believe that if you read the start of this section,
like, it would take you those
day
3
1
days.
to day 3, it wouldn't take you 3 days.
It wouldn't take you 3 days.
It's important to read, I think, believe me, and correct me if I'm wrong, I guess send us an email, that you read it in sections.
Okay.
And you take pauses.
Like a section a day? Or like continuously reading through the 3 sections for those 3 days?
Reading the first section during those 3 days. But taking your time with it, playing around with it a little bit, going back, going forth,
So as long as within the 3 days you're reading the first section.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yes, that makes sense now. I was thinking, does it have to be continuous? Does it have to be like...
No, it doesn't have to be continuous.
Okay.
You'd run out of breath.
Right? That's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's wild. Okay.
You would die.
I didn't know how...
And then somebody would have to read to you. And then they would die.
The cycle keeps going.
Jeez. Now, the next stage is Chonyid Bardo, or the Bardo of Luminous Reality.
Oh, I love that.
What a name, huh?
That's so lovely.
Now, during this phase, your consciousness enters or encounters various visions, deities, and projections of your own mind.
Okay.
Now, let's get into the visions you can expect if this text is to be believed.
Okay.
Now, the initial phase of this Bardo presents a series of peaceful deities. These are enlightened states and positive aspects of your consciousness. So maybe you'd see Mudang. I don't know. Madison, if you were in the Bardo of Luminous Reality, what are some entities that you'd consider calming or peaceful? Who would come to you in this state to help guide you on your transition?
Big Bird.
Holy shit.
I'm not even kidding.
Was not expecting that.
Not even kidding. Big Bird.
Okay.
What were you expecting?
I don't know anything with that.
Holy shit.
You think Big Bird is like a calming, peaceful entity?
Nostalgic.
Okay, yeah.
Like I would see him be like, that's nostalgic, and I would trust Big Bird to lead me into the next life.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that you had such a connection to Big Bird.
Well, my first thought was like, what is like calming? What's from childhood that like I'm really fond of that like that would feel really like a warm hug. And I could feel that being Big Bird.
Wonderful.
What about you, Dylan?
I'm tearing up. Holy shit.
What about Dylan?
I'd want to be crowded by all the dogs I've known in my life, personally.
That's a better answer.
I want that. And Janie, of course. Though she might be more
Janie.
Wrathful than peaceful, I think.
Yeah. I love that. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Oh, my pets. I'm going to say Big Bird and my pets.
Okay,
my cats.
Wouldn't your dogs like try to eat Big Bird?
I don't have dogs. I have cats.
Wouldn't your cats try to eat Big Bird?
No, they'd be frightened of Big Bird. But if it's also peace, there's no frightened in my brain.
This seems like a very chaotic combination of entities.
No. This is how I visualize it.
You're surely going to get reborn.
This is how I picture it. What did you say?
You're going to get reborn for sure at this rate. You're not merging peacefully with the luminous light at all.
Okay, this is how I would merge into the luminous light with my deity of Big Bird and my cats.
Walk me through it.
Okay. I'd be sitting in an enclosed field, and enclosed in the way that it's open, but like the cats won't listen. I'm breaking it down. It's open to an open field, but the cats won't go so far. Like they won't just like roam away. Like they'll stay within a certain area. And then Big Bird is sitting next to me, and we're looking up at the sun and like looking at the clouds, and like there's daisies around us, and I've got a cat just like coming up on me and giving me snuggles. Like we're just like talking about life. Doesn't that sound beautiful?
Yeah, that sounds really great. That sounds really great. Honestly, I want to change my answer. I want that. I want Big Bird. I want the little fucker who lives in the trash can. I want Elmo.
His name is Oscar.
Oscar, that's right.
If you're going to say his name, say it right.
So, now traditionally among these deities are 5 Buddhas.
Okay.
Each identifying with a specific color. And please forgive me as I mispronounce these names.
Okay.
There's Vairochana.
Okay.
Associated with the color white. They assist with the purification of ignorance.
Oh.
There's Akshobhaya, associated with the color blue. They assist with the purification of anger. There's Ratnasambhava, associated with yellow. They assist with the transformation of pride into humility. There's Amitabha, associated with red. They assist with the transformation of desire into understanding. And lastly, there's Amoghasiddhi, associated with green.
Okay.
They assist you with overcoming envy and jealousy.
What color are they?
They are green.
That makes sense.
So there's this procession of Buddhas. Everything's going well, but then, bam, you're hit with the wrathful deities.
Oh, damn. Jamie.
Yeah, your beautiful field full of cats and Big Bird just disappears.
Oscar the Grouch comes like waddling in with his trash can, like hopping around.
Oh gosh, you're such a childish image of the afterlife.
Well, when I think of like comforting, I think of like nostalgic childhood and cats.
And cats. Now
I don't want. Sorry,
what?
I was saying I don't want like stupid stuff that would make me sad or make me possibly sad.
Well, you're out of luck because now we're going into the wrathful deities.
Damn.
These deities may appear terrifying with many arms, legs, and an unfriendly expression.
Oh my gosh.
But they aren't necessarily evil. They don't have ill intentions. Their appearance is meant to break through the ego and attachment. And the way they look, surrounded by fire and carrying weapons, is intended to signify the destruction of ignorance. When you recognize them as aspects of your own mind, you can diminish their power and advance yourself spiritually. In fact, recognizing and assimilating these visions can lead to enlightenment and liberation from the cycle of death and rebirth. So even if you didn't initially merge with the light, which is like, bam, you're done. You're liberated.
You wouldn't even get to this point.
You wouldn't.
Okay.
But if you're unable to merge and you get to this point, but you're able to come to terms and reconcile these different constructs.
When the wrathful deities come to like haunt you.
Yes.
Then you can merge.
If you're able to overcome them and assimilate them into yourself.
What does that mean?
So you recognize them as aspects of your own mind.
Okay, so basically, like I'm not all Big Bird and cats and just happy, perfect things. Like
you're also Oscar the Grouch.
Wrath. I am also Oscar the Grouch. Okay, I like this.
Yes.
I like this. I was gonna say instead of Oscar, it would probably be a pickle chasing after me.
That's hilarious.
Be really hard for me to come to terms with that I am one of them.
The wrathful deities are just giant pickles bouncing around.
It's terrifying. Actually,
Truly.
That and mannequins, absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, that sounds actually pretty terrifying when you say it like that. Now, the part of this book is that I just detailed is meant to be read to the deceased person on days 4 through 6 or 13.
Okay.
Now we move on to the last Bardo, or the Sidpa Bardo, the Bardo of becoming.
Okay.
This is the final stage of this transitional realm. Unable to merge with the light or assimilate your projections, you begin to prepare for rebirth. Basically, you fucked up. So, I mean, we've all done it.
Okay, I just want to clarify. So you said rebirth.
Yeah.
So if you do not merge in the beginning, the next stage that it lets you, or the next stage, if you do not merge, you get rebirthed, reborn, reincarnated?
Yes.
And then if you don't get reincarnated, is that like when they think you go to like heaven or whatever their version is?
Yeah, you know, I'm not 100% sure. But you basically transcend the cycle of death and rebirth. Okay, so which is a positive.
So like you're out of the cycle then.
You're out of it.
You're out of the cycle.
Yes.
Okay. So then if you're back in the cycle and you don't get out, you're fucked. You're fucked up.
You basically fucked up.
Okay, cool.
And you know, we've all done it.
Yeah. No shame.
You think you're going to be able to merge with the light. You know, you think you'll achieve enlightenment in the Bardo of luminous reality. But then you remember you left the iron on.
Damn.
And you got to return to Earth.
Damn.
Happens to everyone.
Yeah.
So this stage is marked by instability and confusion as your consciousness seeks out a new physical form. Your experiences here are influenced heavily by your past actions, desires, and attachments. You may feel pursued by terrifying images, or attracted to certain images, symbolizing the push and pull of karma. During this phase, you also confront a review of past actions. This isn't an external judgment necessarily, it's an internal self-reflection, where you look at what you did in life and the consequences of those decisions. You get a better understanding of cause and effect and your influence as a person. It's sort of like It's a Wonderful Life.
Okay.
If George Bailey was turned into a baby at the end. George Baby, is that anything? George Bailey? No? Is that anything? Audience, write in. Is that anything?
No, do not encourage it.
The culmination of this stage involves a deceased person being drawn toward a suitable realm and conditions for their rebirth. And you don't necessarily become another person. You could become another person, or you could become an animal, god, ghost, or something else entirely.
Like a rock?
Like a rock.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Sorry. When you say it's a wonderful life, but George Bailey turns into a baby.
Mm-hmm.
George Bailey.
Bailey.
What does that mean exactly? So, like, does he lives his life and then...
So, at the end, when everyone, when he reviews his entire life throughout the movie...
Yeah.
And he realizes, the influence he had as a person and the
good
results
things
of his actions. And then at the end, everyone crowds around him and reaffirms his goodness as a person.
Yeah, yeah. And then after he's reaffirmed as a goodness in his person, he is then...
Turned into a baby.
Okay.
The ultimate gift.
When did the bad things come in, though? You mentioned a lot of bad things. When did those come in?
I mean that particular metaphor is lacking, of course.
Okay,
it isn't a perfect metaphor.
It's basically like whenever George Bailey is being both tormented by the awful things that have happened that he has done maybe throughout his life,
yeah,
but still being loved. Like it's a mixture of everything.
Yes.
And then he turned into a baby. He's like, I'm good, I'm great, I'm bad, I'm awful. This was life, ups and downs, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And presented with all of this, and then baby.
And then baby.
Then baby.
The end.
Okay.
Well, actually, the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Ah. All right. So now, whatever you turn into depends on your karmic balance accumulated over your lifetimes.
Okay.
You're drawn toward a rebirth that aligns with your dominant desires and karmic imprint. Now, what do you think you would be if you were reincarnated, if you had a guess?
That's a really great question. That aligns with my what? What does it have to align with?
It depends on your karmic balance accumulated over your lifetimes.
The karmic balance.
So if you think about just your karmic balance in this lifetime.
I would say it's pretty positive.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm not perfect, but I would say it's trending positive.
It's trending positive.
I'd say so.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of something that was that would balance that. Maybe like a tree. Or a flower.
Ah.
You know what? A Venus flytrap.
Oh?
I feel like that's fitting.
Why is that fitting?
I don't know. I
see.
just like the imagery.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Well, you must have fucked up in a past life because you were reborn into this one as a podcast host.
Oh, so great. I love that.
Now, for me, I'd probably be reborn as a rock.
Why?
Because I live a pretty sedimentary lifestyle. Now, this is where things get a little weird.
Okay.
All of this up until now, totally cool. But then your consciousness is drawn to the site of parents, quote unquote, in union. And when I say in union, I'll leave that to your imagination.
Wait a minute. What do you mean you're drawn to the site of parents in union?
So during the collective imagery that you're experiencing, that's guiding you toward your rebirth.
Is the George Bailey scene still?
George Bailey is basically, there's no way to follow through with this metaphor. So what's the question?
What's the question?
What is the question?
The question was asking about the parents in union and if you see that during the George Bailey sequence.
So the George Bailey, honestly, I regret bringing up the George Bailey metaphor. The comparison is limited, and I don't know if we can really bring it home with that.
Hey, it's working with me.
Okay, so
do you guys know who George Bailey is? He's the main character in It's a Wonderful Life. Okay, now you're caught up.
Okay, cool. So George Bailey, basically, during one of his visions
of these life, good, bad
of his life,
yeah,
he sees his parents
coitally intimate, intertwined,
and when he sees them intertwined, he the gender of his baby that he becomes is determined by which of the two parents he's attracted to.
That is wild.
Yes.
That is actually insane.
Yes. Now, this podcast has gotten weird before, but I think this is reaching new heights.
I don't even know what to say to that.
So, yes. So, your attraction to either the male or female parent determines the sex of your reborn being.
Wow.
So, that's all I have to say about that.
That was a lot. You said a lot about that.
Yeah. Now, I will say that it's not too late. If your consciousness can recognize the illusory nature of your environment and maintain awareness, there's still a chance for liberation.
Okay.
You can achieve a conscious rebirth where you enter a new life with a heightened degree of awareness. You'll have more intentionality. Or in certain circumstances, you can achieve total liberation from the cycle of death and rebirth. So even at this late stage, it's not too late.
Okay.
Basically, the grand finale of this transitional stage comes when you either choose a specific realm or are pulled toward one.
Okay.
Your spirit is pulled back toward Earth, and you're born as Madison Eppley or Dylan Berger,
or
destined to create a true crime podcast that covers the very process that puts you in this strange position in the first place.
That broke my brain.
Pretty meta, huh?
Yeah.
Now, this part of the book is read from days 14 to 49.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I get tired, to be honest. And by that point, the dead body's probably fucking reeks.
Yeah.
I'm like flipping through the pages really fast, checking my watch. I'm like, can we get this over with? Can you imagine just skipping out at the end and like the spirit you're guiding has been so helped along the way and then he just disappear and he gets super confused and then he's reborn as a fucking
slug.
Slug? You've doomed your grandparent to be a slug because you couldn't be patient enough to read the book.
Okay, next question.
Yes.
So many questions about this. Do you have to be anyone special to read this book, like a priest or an authority figure, or could it be literally anybody?
Well, it's funny you bring that up.
Oh.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Bardo Thodol is read over the recently dead typically by spiritual guides or family members.
Okay.
It's important to treat the text with respect as you're doing so, but they're read by monks or lamas, Tibetan lamas.
Lamas?
Tibetan lamas. Or family members.
Wait, is that actually a thing?
Tibetan lamas?
Yeah.
You never heard that phrase?
No.
Or that the term? Yeah, the Tibetan lama basically refers to like a spiritual guide.
Wait a second.
Okay. Now what?
Oh my gosh.
Have a brain blast?
I did. I genuinely did. Okay. I didn't know that was a name for a spiritual guide.
Yes. It's spelled with one L.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
What's happening?
There was an episode of Tales from the Dark Side.
Okay.
And they mentioned llamas, but it wasn't the animal llamas. They were men. And I was so confused the entire episode. And I was so confused by it, and it was my least favorite because I had no idea what the hell they were talking about, but now it makes sense.
Have you been holding on to that for that long?
It just unlocked in my brain.
Damn.
I was like, where else have I heard of that? I was like, the llamas.
Yeah. So it's just like a term for a Tibetan monk, kind of?
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. Huh?
Okay, sorry.
Now, they basically help to guide the deceased in their journey through the transition I described. Thus, liberation through hearing during the intermediate state. You get liberation by hearing the person reading during this intermediate state.
Okay.
And thus, that's why it's named that. The reader is helping the soul transcend the cycle of death and rebirth or achieve a favorable reincarnation. They act as a guide. Now, that's not to say that the Bardo Thodol is read only after a death. However, it's also studied in life to prepare the reader for the Bardo state. That's one of the motivations behind meditation, mindfulness, the cultivation of awareness, and other similar practices. It's in preparation for the Bardo state. We often think about mindfulness more generally without a concrete goal outside of improving our mental state and well-being, but it actually has an additional purpose when we look at the Bardo Thodol.
Okay.
Which is a Buddhist text. Of course, the Tibetan Book of the Dead isn't without its controversy. Some scholars have called its authenticity into question, saying that it might not have come from Padmasambhava. Oh.
Padmasambhava?
Yes.
Wow.
The original story is that Padmasambhava had his student write the text, which was then hidden and later discovered by Karmalingpa. But fucking skeptics, argue that there's little evidence of that, which has led to debates about the legitimacy of the text and where it came from. At the same time, though, what kind of evidence would exist over 700 years later?
Yeah. Scandal.
Scandal, indeed. Now, there's also disagreement within Tibetan Buddhism about the interpretation of the symbolism within the text, as different schools of thought interpret the symbolism differently. This naturally leads to arguments over the correct understanding.
Okay.
Now, I'm not sure how you feel, but I find the Tibetan Book of the Dead really interesting.
That is fascinating.
I also wonder how universal this death experience could be if it's so steeped in Buddhist mythology, relating back to the colorful Buddhas I mentioned earlier. Now, could it be that the framework remains the same between cultures, but the deities and symbolism changes depending on your belief system? It's taught that we populate the Bardo state with our own psychological constructs. Whether those constructs are Buddhas or angels, or something uniquely personal, it makes sense that...
Like Big Bird.
Like Big Bird. Exactly. It makes sense that Buddhists would receive Buddhist imagery, whereas a Christian would receive Christian imagery.
That makes sense. I love that.
Though the idea of reincarnation conflicts with traditional Christian teachings, so I imagine that gets a little confusing.
Yeah.
I imagine much of this segment is confusing, but I'm really in love with the idea of a text that just explains everything you need to know so plainly.
Yeah, that's really nice. It's very comforting.
Mm-hmm. You know, people have speculated since the beginning of people what happens after you die.
Yeah.
And the good news is we have an answer. Maybe?
Maybe? Question mark?
Whether or not you believe in the legitimacy of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it remains one of the most mysterious, thought-provoking texts ever written, and I can't wait to learn about it in my next life.
Damn.
Sources are Wikipedia, Psychological Commentary on the Tibetan Book of the Dead by Carl Jung,
Okay.
and Government of Sikkim.
Carl Jung.
Yeah.
Big name.
Yeah, he was very much interested in the Tibetan Book of the Dead.
That's fascinating.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, Carl Jung was a psychologist, very famous psychologist who did a lot of famous experiments.
Mm-hmm. He made connections between the collective unconscious and the different states described in the Tibetan Book of the Dead.
Wow. That's
and
fascinating.
yeah, the psychological constructs that we allegedly populate it with.
You know, I really like the idea besides having like the book that just like lays everything out for you, which is really nice.
Yeah, it's
very
great.
Comforting. I like the idea of like there's still more chances. Like if you didn't merge right away, that's okay. You can merge later. And if you didn't merge that time, you know what? It's okay.
Yeah.
There's some other chance. And maybe even another chance after that.
Yes.
You know? Like it's not too late.
Yeah, it's not
and then
too late.
even whenever it is too late, like you said, you could have like a heightened sense of awareness in that next life.
Yeah.
So like it's setting you up for good things.
Yeah. It's really beautiful to think that you could be drawn toward being a slug.
Yeah.
And then you're like, actually,
wait a minute.
This
has a purpose.
These pickles are part of me.
Fucking hate.
Yes, it all makes sense now. I am Oscar the Grouch.
See, that's the thing though. The way that you said about how like the bad deities and that phase, you have to recognize that they are a part of you. I could never look a pickle in the eye and say, you know what? We are the same. We are made of the same thing. I never.
Could look a pickle in the brine.
No.
Now, Carl Jung actually mentioned,
pickles?
You know, not pickles specifically, but his work with the shadow, if you're familiar with shadow work.
No.
It's the assimilation of the negative aspects of our personality and our unconscious into our identity.
Okay.
In a healthy way.
Okay.
And he relates, I'm just like paraphrasing, and he relates that back to the wrathful deities experienced during the second Bardo of this transitional state.
Basically just like accepting the bad about yourself.
Yes.
Like, you know, nobody's perfect. Like accept it and move on.
Exactly.
Huh.
And if you're interested in learning more about this, I'd recommend looking up the Bardo Thodol as well as Carl Jung's interpretation of the text, which is very interesting.
Huh. Thank you, Dylan.
Absolutely.
That was wonderful. I love that.
Very glad.
Thanks.
Now, a little bit of interesting news. Madison, would you care to take the lead on this one?
Sure. Let's see if I can. So basically, we're going to switch things up a little bit with the way that we record these episodes and produce them.
Yeah, you thought we were going to zig?
We're going to zag. We're going to fucking zag. Yeah.
Didn't see that coming.
No, you didn't. So not only is this after a bit of a hiatus from just life, but it feels very fitting. Like we've been talking about the structure of the podcast and hearing some comments and feedback from you in terms of like what you like to see. And we agreed and want to change things up a little bit. So we will only be doing one story per episode. The episodes will be a little bit shorter, which should help to make it a little bit more palatable into your schedule. It'll give more time for conversation betwixt us and some commentary. But also, it allows us to produce episodes more than just bi-weekly.
In fact, weekly.
Weekly now. So you'll get this one from Dylan whenever you're hearing it, obviously. And then the next week, it'll be my turn. And that'll help to, there won't be any more two-parters. It won't...
Excuse me.
What was that?
Sorry, I just burped.
What's that? Did you just yell in my face?
I didn't mean to. Please continue.
I don't know if I can.
So basically, to make things, with 2 stories an episode, it was a little less cohesive. It was a little lengthy. So we're going to split up our stories. And
so it feels more cohesive with what we're talking about. And we can dedicate some more time to talking about those subjects instead of trying to get through both of our stories.
Yeah. And it's weekly.
Yeah.
How about that?
Get excited.
Also... So, yeah, that's going to be the new structure of things.
Yeah.
Also, I do want to shout out my brother.
Hi,
for
Daniel.
Daniel, thank you so much for sending in the first gift that the podcast has received, which is a big box of pickles.
I really hate it. Thankfully, Dylan has been kind enough to not have it anywhere near me, but he's mentioned it a couple times now. And by a couple, I mean at least a handful. He just keeps bringing it up. So, thanks, Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel.
Appreciate that.
Love you very much.
Yeah, you're okay.
I'll talk to you soon.
I won't.
But yeah, so that is going to be the new structure of things.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I think it's going to feel more cohesive, I think. I'm excited. I'm really excited for it. And I'm excited that it'll be releasing content more often, which I wanted to do for a while and couldn't figure out how to do it. And now we figured it out.
Yeah. So, now, what are you going to be bringing next week?
Me? What am I bringing? I guess we could do like teasers, I guess, too. Do I want them to look it up, though, on their own? I don't. I want them to be surprised.
Yes, it'll be a surprise, actually.
Okay, it'll be a surprise. But just to like hint a little bit, maybe I can give clues. Maybe I can give clues and they can try to guess.
Okay.
Okay, so the story... Choking?
What the fuck? I'm regressing. I've been practicing, but I've been getting worse.
Yeah, it's not going great. Okay, so I'll give you 3 hints. The first one is it is a documentary currently on Netflix. It's another doozy with twists and turns, and you think it's as deep as it is going to get, and then it gets deeper, and then it does again. It's just a fucking wild story.
Damn. And
it has to do with a man harming people.
That really narrows it down.
I don't know what I was supposed to say.
No, I think that's an adequate amount of clues.
Okay. I'll give you 3 words. Georgia, stripper, aerospace.
Wow.
That's actually a really good clue. If you know the story, that's a really good clue.
Okay.
All
right, folks. Well, chew on that for a little bit.
Yeah, chew on that. If you think you know what it is, give me a holler. You might get a sticker.
We're giving out stickers now.
I don't have any stickers.
That's another addition we're adding to the show, and Madison has stickers, and she's giving them out. All right, folks. Well, where can they find us?
You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at MECrisisPod, or you can send us an email at myexistentialcrisispodcast@gmail.com.
And you could find me on Instagram at Marblefolk, MARBLEFOLK.
Absolutely. Great artist. Please follow him. He's amazing.
Thank you very much.
Me, for less artistic things, at Madison.Epley. Because I'm boring. Actually, because I'm boring should be my new handle.
Oh, that's actually, that's quite charming.
Yeah, because I'm boring. You know what? Also, more things to put on your plate. If you have a new Instagram handle for me, give me a ring. Come up with something creative.
Yeah, there are 2 stickers in it for you.
Yeah.
I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Yeah.
Bye for now.
Bye.